Everyone, UFC 312 is over. It was kind of a shit card, if I'm being honest. I wasn't a big fan of it. The matchups weren't amazing. I mean, there were some good performances here and there, but honestly, now that it's over, I don't really remember it that well. But a big thing coming out of this fight is Sean Strickland's performance at UFC 312. For one thing, he never really got out of the first gear. I know people were talking about him having staph infection, which I'll get into. But currently, we're seeing probably a fallout between Sean Strickland and his head coach, Eric Nicksick, who, if you don't know, Eric Nicksick has coached Sean Strickland for quite a while now. Coached him in his title win, coached Francis Ngannou to his title win. So he's a head coach of two champions. Very good coach, I would say, at Extreme Couture. But Eric Nicksick was very critical of Sean Strickland's performance, which I can't really blame him. Sean Strickland was not really doing anything that he was telling him to, wasn't listening to his coaching, so you're going to be a little frustrated. And on Ariel Helwani's show, he was kind of critiquing Sean Strickland and saying, almost questioning if he even wants to be a champion again. And saying, like, if he wants to fight for money, he can do that, but I'm trying to train champions or world champions. Paraphrasing a little bit, but that's basically what he said, which, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with what he's saying, because, I mean, if you're trying to be this head coach thing, you want to coach champions rather than money fights and all that stuff. But maybe that could have been, because the way it's being worded, these two hadn't talked since the fight was over, and in any deep conversation. So I feel like this almost should have been spoken between you two rather than it getting vented on Ariel Helwani, of all people's show. But that's just me. And then Sean Strickland also made comments on, he did a live and he talked about it. And basically said he's most likely not going to be working with Eric Nicksick again. And then they had very different stories of how the training camp went, where Eric Nicksick almost dismissed the staph infection claims, saying, training camp went well, other than, obviously there was staph infection that plays a little bit into it, but it wasn't the root cause of Sean's performance, where Sean Strickland kind of was adding on more stuff that happened during the training camp, like injuries, his nose, the staph infection. So you have two different stories. You're causing this, there's going to cause this huge problem, and now these two don't seem to be working together. And, I mean, I guess that sucks because, those two worked pretty well together for the most part. I mean, they got Sean Strickland, of all people, to a title, to being a champion, which I could tell you a couple of years ago, I would have said you were crazy for thinking that was ever going to happen. But, it happened, and it's pretty impressive in my opinion. But now that's over, I don't really know what happens now for Sean Strickland. Because if he's not going to listen to Eric Nicksick when Eric Nicksick is dead on telling him that he needs to be more active, if he's not going to listen to him, I don't know who he's going to listen to or how he's going to improve outside of that, because I feel like if he fights some of these other guys, if he fights Jared Cannonier in a rematch, then that's probably going to be a struggle as well, because Jared Cannonier, I know it was a robbery, but Jared Cannonier still made it competitive. Some of these other guys, I know he beat Nasser Nurmagomedov, but I'm curious how a rematch between those two would actually go. But, I mean, I wish both of them the best, but I thought I would just talk about this. It seems to be the end of a friendship. I mean, they said they're still going to be friends, but just not coaching, but that's going to put a little bit of a strain on their friendship, I'd say. But that's really it for me. Just kind of want to talk about that. Bye.